On March 5th, Trump fired Kristi Noem by Truth Social while she was mid-sentence giving a speech in Nashville. He named Markwayne Mullin as her replacement. Mullin found out at a Senate GOP lunch when a colleague read the Truth Social post aloud. Mullin told reporters he wasn't expecting the call today. He also told reporters it came at a little bit of a surprise for us. He had to call his wife, he had to call his dad, and he was already talking to the press about running a 250,000-person department before he had finished calling his family. Republican Senator Tom Tillis had called Noem's DHS leadership a disaster at her hearing 2 days earlier. Trump solved the disaster by firing Noem, and then every single consequence of the firing arrived simultaneously, in the middle of a war, with 100,000 DHS employees in a shutdown that has now lasted more than 29 days, with a FEMA overhaul report thrown into limbo, with a confirmation hearing scheduled for March 18th before a committee chaired by a Republican Mullin called a freaking snake last month. Here are all 5 disasters produced by the one firing. DHS has been in a partial government shutdown since February 14th, 29 days and counting as of today. 100,000 DHS employees missed their first full paychecks. Airport security, Coast Guard operations, cybersecurity, and disaster response are all running on emergency authority, legally precarious operations that depend on continuing resolutions and emergency declarations rather than actual appropriated funding. The shutdown predates the Noem firing, but the Noem firing has made it worse in a specific and measurable way. There is no confirmed Secretary of Homeland Security to negotiate a funding resolution. Mullin is nominated, not confirmed. He is still technically a senator. He cannot act as DHS secretary. He cannot sign agreements. He cannot authorize emergency funding transfers. He cannot make binding commitments to the Democratic senators whose votes are required to end the shutdown. Democrats voted against 3 separate DHS funding bills during the shutdown, citing the Minneapolis shootings of American citizens Renee Good and Alex Preddy, the $220 million ad campaign controversy, and the documented FEMA disaster relief backlog under Noem. They said publicly they would consider supporting a bill if meaningful reforms were attached. There are no meaningful reforms attached to the current bill. There is no confirmed DHS secretary to negotiate them. There are no talks scheduled. So, the department responsible for counterterrorism, border security, disaster relief, cybersecurity, and airport safety in the middle of an active war against Iran, with the FBI warning of aspirational drone attacks off California, with DHS itself having distributed sleeper asset trigger bulletins to law enforcement, is in its 29th day of a partial shutdown without a permanent secretary, running on emergency authority that was never designed to last this long. The confirmation hearing is scheduled for March 18th, this Wednesday. The committee is the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee. The committee chairman, the Republican who controls the hearing's scope, the witnesses, and the timeline, is Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky. In February 2026, 1 month before Trump nominated Mullin to be confirmed by Paul's committee, Mullin called Paul a freaking snake at a public event in Oklahoma. He also said he completely understood why Paul's neighbor physically attacked him in 2017, breaking multiple ribs. He compared Paul unfavorably to Bernie Sanders, saying at least Sanders is honest about being a communist. Paul, asked about the incoming hearing, told CBS News he was shooting for a week from Wednesday if all the paperwork comes in. He did not say he was enthusiastic. He did not endorse Mullin. He noted the hearing could be tough. Bloomberg reported that Paul is expected to provide tough public questioning and that the two men's often adversarial relationship will only spotlight their fissures. Rand Paul has already called the Iran war another presidential war on the Senate floor and said midterms will be disastrous for Republicans if oil stays above $100. He has signed the War Powers Resolution. He is, along with Massey, the Republican most willing to challenge Trump's foreign policy. And he now chairs the committee deciding whether the man who called him a freaking snake gets confirmed to run the department responsible for the California drone threat Leavitt said never did exist. Mullen's qualifications for the role, a wrestling scholarship, an associate's degree in construction technology, a plumbing business, a steakhouse, and 6 years in Congress, none of them on the Homeland Security Committee or any committee with oversight of DHS's 4 primary functions. Bloomberg reported on March 12, 3 days ago, that the DHS shutdown has thrown into limbo a long-awaited report on how to revamp FEMA. The report was ordered by Trump himself last year. It was originally expected in December. Trump extended the deadline to March 25th. It is now unclear whether that deadline will be met because, as Kevin Guthrie, one of the report's authors and Florida's top emergency management official, told Bloomberg, the shutdown has disrupted the final stages of the process. The FEMA Review Council's report will determine the future of America's disaster response infrastructure. It covers whether FEMA should be dismantled and replaced with state-managed systems, whether the disaster threshold requiring federal aid should be raised 4-fold from $10 million to $40 million, and whether to cut FEMA's workforce by more than 12,000 positions, halving the agency. Emergency management experts say losing half the agency could dramatically slow disaster response in floods, hurricanes, wildfires, and earthquakes. The shutdown that is blocking the report's delivery is also the shutdown that has already stalled more than $500 million in FEMA disaster relief for Los Angeles fire survivors, the backlog created by Noem's personal sign-off requirement on every contract above $100,000. That requirement was one of the specific failures that contributed to her firing. The man fired her. The shutdown that was the context of her firing continues. The report reviewing the future of the agency she mismanaged cannot be delivered because of the shutdown. The circle is complete and fully unbroken. Hurricane season begins June 1st. The March 25th FEMA report deadline, already at risk, is 11 days away. There is no confirmed DHS secretary to receive it. On March 14th, yesterday, Trump threatened to revoke the broadcast licenses of any television station he believed was reporting the news in a way he didn't like. The threat was issued through FCC Chairman Brandon Carr, whose post echoed Trump's language about fake news and hoaxes. What Trump did today documented it immediately. Trump had his FCC chair send a blunt message to American news networks covering the ongoing Iran disaster: "Be nicer to me or lose your license." Legal scholars quoted across multiple outlets said the threat is legally empty. The First Amendment makes it nearly impossible to revoke a broadcast license based on content. But as What Trump Did today noted, lawsuits cost money, and most broadcast licenses are owned not by the networks, but by individual local affiliates, meaning the threat has a chilling effect on local stations, even if it is constitutionally unenforceable at the network level. The timing is precise and revealing. Trump issued this threat on day 15 of the Iran war, as the war's death toll reached 13 Americans, as the Strait remained closed, as the MAGA base went silent at the Hebron rally, as gas hit $3.54, as the Dow stayed near its post-war lows, and as every major news outlet documented the gap between his victory claims and the operational reality. The FCC threat is not a policy move. It is a frustrated president in the middle of a war he cannot define, cannot win quickly, and cannot exit, telling broadcasters to say nicer things about it. Fox News' own media correspondent noted the irony without stating it. Fox News, which spent 3 years demanding media accountability for its Iran war coverage, is now being told by the president it supported that any coverage he dislikes could cost a local affiliate its license. Here is the disaster nobody in Washington is talking about, and it is the one that could matter most in November. By nominating Mullen for DHS, Trump removed him from the Senate. Mullen was up for re-election in 2026, a cycle where Republicans are desperately defending every Senate seat they hold. Oklahoma's governor, Kevin Stitt, is now required to appoint a replacement senator to serve through January 2027. That appointed replacement will then face a special election in 2026, in a cycle where Democrats are overperforming by 16 to 31 points in special elections across the country. Oklahoma has been reliably Republican since statehood. Its Senate seats have not been competitive in modern political memory. But Fort Worth, Texas swung 31 points to Democrats in January. Texas Democrats outpaced Republicans by 110,000 primary votes on March 3rd. The pattern of Democratic special election overperformance in the Trump era does not stop at state lines just because the state has historically been red. Trump pulled a first-term senator out of a safe seat in the middle of the most politically turbulent midterm environment Republicans have faced since 2018 to run a shuttered department he found out about when it was announced on Truth Social during a war that 54% of Americans oppose, with confirmation managed by a committee chair who the nominee called a freaking snake. The firing was the solution to one disaster. The firing produced 5.